Hey everybody, this is Dominic D'Angelo of WrestleZone.com. I am so happy to have with me here today. Oh, wait, today's date is July 2nd, 2020. And I'm super happy to have with me here today none other than AJ Kirsch, the one half of the voice of MLW. But we're here for a much different and really, really cool cause going on right now that AJ has been a part of. And that the world, and as well as the United States, it's been a massive movement. It's a Black Lives Matter movement. And AJ, thanks for joining me to discuss this with me today, brother.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk about world outside of wrestling for once.
Right?
It's a
Mix
nice
it up a little
refresher.
bit. We're gonna mix it up a little bit. Yeah. So talk about this shirt. It's super cool. It's super simple, but anybody that's a wrestling fan knows what that indicates, and it's a nice little concept. So talk about your inspiration. And maybe in this regard, what really got you motivated to be like, all right, you know what, I'm going to do something about this. This cause is important to me. And what really got you going? Is there a particular moment that really stands out to you?
Yeah. To kind of circle back to the first part of that question, just to show everybody real quick, it's the old classic kind of ECF&W inspired logo, BLF&M. And then I've got the, I don't know if you can see it, the hashtag on the back.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter. And just right off the bat, those are available on my Pro Wrestling Tees store. And I've actually, the gimmick I do at Hood Slam in Oakland is Broseph Joe Brody. So I've actually secured the URL Bro Wrestling Tees. So if you just go to browrestlingtees.com, you'll have one of 3 Black Lives Matter shirts to choose from. And 100% of those proceeds will go to the Black Lives Matter organization now and forever. And in fact, if your viewers are watching this before July 4th, if you use code America at checkout, you get 20% off. So now's the time to do it if you've been on the fence about it. I'm glad we got the plug out of the way in the beginning. Now we can talk about the why I'm doing this. Well, obviously, wrestling for the most part has been on hold for a number of months since COVID-19 hit. And, the video with George Floyd came out, and it just had this seismic effect on a lot of, the racial discrepancy between white people and black people. And it's, for me, like, it definitely, I don't know if helped is the right term, but because I wasn't so consumed with wrestling, and then also as an actor, like, shoots were on hold, but it was the type of thing that nobody can turn away from it anymore.
Right.
And the phrase that I kind of keep going to is like, it's not okay anymore. But even the anymore kind of speaks to my privilege, because it's really never been okay. But me as a white man, it's now at a point where I see it's never been more clear to me the mistreatment of black people in America. And so again, it's like, this is not okay anymore, in the sense that me as a white man, I felt like it was time for me to actually do something about it. But again, this has never been okay. And America has been under this, I want to say it's an illusion of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and all men are created equal. And really, since the inception of this country, it's never really been that way. And that's the injustice. That's why Black Lives Matter is almost on the tip of everybody's tongue nowadays. And I just feel like that's wrong. Everybody should be treated equally. You should not be judged on the color of your skin, or your gender identity, or your sexual preferences, or anything else. And America, I think Will Smith actually had the quote that racism isn't getting worse, it's just getting filmed. And I'm all of a sudden far more educated and far more aware of what black people have had to deal with ever since they were kidnapped and brought to this country. And I wanted to do something about it. And so obviously I've made a name for myself in wrestling. Most of the people who follow me on social media do so because of either my work with MLW or WWE 2K or Hood Slam, or, any of the reality shows that I've been on. And so Tough Enough, for example, most of it's wrestling related. So I wanted to come up with a shirt that wrestling fans can look at and just be like, oh, I see what he's doing here. Like, it's almost like a little wink and a nod to your fellow wrestling fans. but also something to support Black Lives Matter. And, I have a designer who's just super talented. He cranked these out immediately. I put them up on Pro Wrestling Tees. And in Pro Wrestling Tees was also kind enough to agree that 100% of the proceeds go to Black Lives Matter. So it's not just me getting my cut. They actually sent me my cut and what they would have received for all the sales.
How about that?
So,
yeah.
So in the month of June alone, I raised $5,252.23, that all of which was donated to Black Lives Matter. And, we're still early in July. We're in the middle of that 20% off sale. And I think another 15 or 20 or so shirts have been sold just within the last 36 hours or so.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so it feels good to be able to contribute to a cause that I believe in, a cause that is really just about equality and justice. Like, it's not looking to take anything away from the privilege of white people. It's a level playing field.
Yes.
I think the whole point is just asking for, and a little bit louder this time because they haven't gotten it yet, but it's asking for equal rights, equal treatment, and to just be treated like human beings. And the fact that that's even a dispute nowadays
in 2020,
in 2020, it just blows me away that this is even such an issue right now. Like, I'm sure a lot of people who are really, and I'm going to wind up this rant in just a moment here, but okay, cool. Like, I've lost a lot of followers on social media because of how outspoken I've been about Black Lives Matter. And it just blows me away that it's like somebody will follow you because they enjoy your work or they appreciate your performance doing something, but then you start speaking out against racism and it's like, well, if they're not racist, I'm not going to follow them. Like, it just blows me away that this is the world we're living in 2020. It's infuriating for me as a white man. I can't even imagine what Black people are feeling right now. And I just want to be a part of the solution. I want to help.
Yeah. And you know what? It's like, you mentioned it earlier too, how it's like, it kind of opened your eyes seeing all this, videos and everything that was like just shocking to see, and things that like really alarming to like somebody like me too. I mean, you're not the only person. It's like, there's so many, and you see the reaction of a lot of white people. Like, a lot of the protesters are white people, and a lot of people that do it, I talked to Myron Reed about this too, and how like me just from an outsider perspective, just going outside and going for a run or a bike ride or something like that, none of that ever would hit my mind that, oh God, something could happen to me right now,
Right.
But that's always in the forefront of Black people's minds. It happens, and it's just like, it's such an eye opener for a lot of people, and
right. And I'm almost embarrassed that it took me this long.
Me too.
Like,
yeah.
But like, I've never had to fear for my life if I got pulled over.
Right.
I'm like, but and now again, it's just like, it's never been more clear to me, and it's something that I'm not okay with, and I feel like I have a duty to, speak up about it and put the voice that I have into action.
Right. And you know what? You mentioned it too. Like, you lost a lot of followers, or like a good chunk of followers and all that stuff, being outspoken like that. But what does that matter in the grand scheme of things? And on top of that too, it's like, social media is so divisive in so many ways, where it's just like, you're either this or you're that, and people just, boom, it's over. Like, that's how it is. And I think it's so unfortunate that people can't come to an understanding if they have a difference of opinion or viewpoint or whatever, where it's just like, all right, maybe you don't agree with this person on a certain matter, but why does that matter that you gotta unfollow them or they're completely cut out of your lives?
That's kind of the point. Like, I don't know if you heard me when you were saying, so finger on the censor button, but for everybody who unfollowed me because I was speaking out against racism, fuck them. Like, they are so inconsequential. Like, I have never been so happy to lose followers. Because for me, it's not about the numbers. Like, I would rather have people following me and like paying attention to what I'm doing who are on the same page, because social media is not the place that you're going to change anybody's mind.
No, you're definitely not. Definitely
Like
not.
you need to have those conversations either in person or maybe it's something you have over DMs. But like, if the difference maker is somebody being racist and somebody being not racist, and that's what drives you away from my social media, then fuck you. I don't give I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes about people who do unfollow people because they're speaking out against racism. It speaks volumes about the people who unfollow them. Like,
Yes.
and I don't want those people paying attention to. I don't want you to buy a fucking shirt. I don't want you to come to a show. I don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah. And you know what? It's like, if you're gonna have that ancient, like prehistoric, really just bad mindset about things, and negative, like illogical mindset about everything with that, it's like, what, you're not contributing anything. You're not helping any cause going to anything. And it's just like doing that, like those people that have that kind of mentality where it's just like, well, I'm not gonna like you because you don't agree with that. Like, it's ridiculous for people to do that. And
but at the same time, like, it's just not okay to be racist.
No,
like,
it's not.
It's the point where it's like, I have to draw the line somewhere. And if somebody is choosing to be racist and choosing to judge people based on the color of their skin, or choosing to just harbor so much hate towards an entire group of people based on nothing, like just based on what they were taught, like,
Yes.
And I'll admit to probably needing to do a better job at this. Like, I could probably be more patient with them, but because somebody has to change their mind. Like,
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's a challenge for me not to just verbally eviscerate them on social media.
Sure.
But again, social media is not it's the place where everybody wants to say something, but nobody wants to listen.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it can be really challenging to find the right sequence of words that actually gets that conversation happening. Because, like, I've been to a number of protests. Everybody protesting is all on the same side. They're not changing anybody's mind.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's going to, a Trump rally. They're all on the same side. They're not gonna change anybody's mind over there. So it's like, it's the challenge is trying to find a way to be receptive in a way that we can change somebody's mind.
That's a very good point. Yeah. That's the tough thing, though.
I don't know what that looks like.
No, who does though? It's like, I think it's a matter of consistency and just, not punching people in the face in a certain way. You know what I mean? Like, not like going so harsh at them in a lot of ways. They're kind of getting that balance and easing your way, dipping your toes in the pool, so to speak, I guess. You know what I mean? Where it's just like easing your way into it. But that's a difficult thing to do when, something as ridiculous as racism is like
something is fundamentally wrong as racism.
Yes.
It's just wrong.
Exactly. So it's such a frustrating time, but like there's so many times too where it's like we see this like pour and movement going out there, and I think there's a lot of optimism to it. Where you see that crowd getting together, and even in Pittsburgh here, where I'm at, there's like the protests are still going on like once a week. People are going out and doing it, and it's like you see that change, and we haven't even as this two white dudes talking. I haven't seen this kind of fundamental change actually like this visible and this evident. It seems like something a little bit bigger is going on, and actual work is happening, and there's so much more to go for with that too that I feel that needs to happen. But I'm remaining optimistic about it, and I feel like it's a big step in the right direction. So
yeah, I agree. There is still a ton of work to do, obviously, but we're talking about it. Like, this is not going away anytime soon. And again, it's just kind of like the fact that it's 2020 and that this is still such a hot button topic is, like, the America that I was taught exists is that, everybody's created equal. It's the land of opportunity, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And America is, especially in the last, 4 or so years, has really shown itself to be the country equivalent of never meet your heroes because they're just going to let you down. America is full of shit. It really is. And it's a sobering, alarming realization. I would like to think that America has the potential to live up to the image that it has projected of itself for so long. The potential's there. Everything is here so that America can be everything it says it is, everything it likes to think it is. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done and a lot of shittiness that needs to be taken care of. A lot. And the people in power, it's never been more transparent that the police they're not there to serve and protect the people. The police are there to serve and protect the politicians and the corporations that are in bed with each other, that are just fellatiing each other so that they make sure that they're taken care of. But people are paying for their salaries. I don't know. The more I learn, the more disappointed I get in America. But for everybody who's if you don't like it, you can get the hell out. That's not how you. You don't abandon things you love. I still love this country. I love the people of this country, but you don't just turn your back and give up on it when you're going through a hard time. That's not what you do.
No, and you know what? It's those what America projects and what the ultimate image we have of this country is freedom and the ability to do what you want and have that opportunity for yourself. That's what the foundation we want to have happen. And we're not really practicing what we're preaching. And it hasn't really happened yet if we're breaking everything down,
Yeah, it hasn't happened yet. And again, one of the reasons why, again, I keep saying this is not okay anymore, but for people of color, this is the way it's always been. And that's not okay. It's never been okay.
No. And I think I guess this is kind of going off a little bit, but how much of an influence do you think? I mean, obviously media has an influence, but how much of do you think there's a lot of benefits to having the media, but in a lot of ways too, there's a lot of aspects that people I think mostly with mainstream media, you have that people watch one channel to substantiate their own claims, or people watch this.
Right.
How much do you think social media in regard, and as well as mainstream media, how much of a wedge does that put in between people? And what, I mean, this is such a broad question, but what do you think can be done to kind of alleviate a lot of that division, so to speak?
Right. That is a hell of a question. And I think you're right. These mass media companies are corporations, and they are in business to make money. And they are basically catering to their respective audiences. And I think people would rather receive stimulus and information in a way that makes them feel right, that makes them feel better about themselves, that prevents them from actually looking in the mirror and being what am I wrong about? What do I need to educate myself about? What have I been lied to my entire life that the way I thought it was, maybe it's not actually that way anymore? Because then we have to come to terms with ourselves that we were fooled or duped or misled or misinformed or miseducated. And that doesn't feel good. Nobody wants to admit they're wrong. And I think that's one of the reasons why, politics and news and media, everybody is willing to die on the hill they're on rather than putting in the work to maybe check out the view from another hill. And until people are actually ready to do that and say, you know what, I was wrong. I see where you're coming from. I was not aware of this information prior to this discussion. I received some new information that has me second guessing myself. That's almost prohibited to say in a public setting. You can't, if you admit you're wrong, everybody's going to jump on your back and make you feel bad about it and be how can we trust this person? Newsflash. People make mistakes. People are fallible. Nobody is perfect. And I'm of the opinion that the more somebody pretends they're perfect, the more they have to hide. And more wrong they often are. So until people are ready to actually take some responsibility for being misinformed or being miseducated. They're just going to go to the news outlet sources that make them feel better about themselves because they're fucking cowards.
Yeah, it's a matter of.
Again, I got a little bit aggressive there toward the end. That's a perfect example of how people are not going to change. Like, I got fired up toward the end, and I added some salt and pepper to my language.
But here, just in the same turn, you're doing what you just said too. Is like you gotta open yourself up to a little bit more, and that's the kind of thing too. It's like finding that balance, man. We're all doing it. We're all admitting to like being wrong or doing different things, mishandling certain ways. It's just that's how life is, and if people
and it's uncomfortable. That's the thing. It's uncomfortable, and like even me adding those cuss words at the end, like it's almost like it's easy to get defensive about it. It's like because you're worried about getting attacked or labeled or or just destroyed on social media or whatever it is. So it's like I could do a better job of like keeping my temper dialed in as I'm discussing these issues. But like there's it's hard to look in the mirror, and I wish people, myself included, would do a better job about being like, what are my shortcomings? How can I be a better person? Because I think ultimately everybody just wants to feel like they belong. Everybody just wants to feel like they're being valued as a human being and not as a skin color or a sexuality or a statistic or the money in their bank account. And, we have a long way to go before we get there, but it's going to take some uncomfortable conversations and some uncomfortable self-analysis to get there.
Yes, it's going to be a lot of legwork, but I mean the payoff is ultimately worth it, obviously. So it's like, let's hope it. Let's just. I like I said, I remain optimistic, and I think we're in the right direction. It's just a matter of keeping on that same road that we got to do, man. So let me get to this. I can't go without talking about MLW, and I think you and Rich Piccini are like the low key, really top good commentators that just give a consistent, thorough storytelling product that delivers what the intention is of the MLW show, and I think you guys exude that. And I talked to you about this when we were in Philly. It's like you guys are so good at like keeping with the continuity and getting into the little intricacies of things that I think is super duper fascinating. Talk about a little bit just how it's been for you as a commentator, because a lot of people know you as the wrestler starting off with Tough Enough and all that stuff. So, but you making that transition into a commentator role, it's been you've kind of taken to it. It seems like a fish to water in a lot of ways.
Thank you. Well, I joined MLW in October of last year, and I've been doing commentary since early 2012. So it's not like I came into MLW like, okay, great, I'm a commentator now. What do I do? Like, it was not my first day with MLW was not my first day as a commentator. I felt very much at home when I secured that role, but I'd never called wrestling for television before. So just getting that such a deep inside perspective on the amount of detail that goes into not just a wrestling show, for television as a whole, but just the amount of detail that Rich and I sift through to call the matches and to make sure that we do appropriately set up the storyline and get over everything that court wants to get over. It's been, a masterclass in wrestling for television. And Rich has been super generous about sharing his knowledge because, he was a commentator with WWE for a number of years. So it was like, to be able to sit under that learning tree on a regular basis and just get better at calling wrestling for television has, for me, both as a fan and as somebody in the business, has been an amazing experience. And, I'm chomping at the bit for MLW to return with shows. I'm not optimistic that it's going to happen anytime soon because as we're seeing another spike in COVID cases, so, Court has made it very clear that the safety of his crew, his roster, and most importantly, the fans is his top priority. So it's nice to have somebody at the helm who does value the safety of the people who mean the most to him and his company as opposed to rushing into a show or rushing into a situation that might put people at risk.
Heck, even at the Philly show we were at back in February, there was already stuff about like, hey, no shaking hands, like that kind of policy of taking those precautions before the pandemic really hit. So it was like MLW was ahead of the game in a lot of ways with that, and it's been neat to see. Regards to let's see, yeah, just the development and the progress that MLW's made. They made a deal with Danzin recently, and there's just a lot of Court's always on the ball with like making announcements, and there's different things happening. Talk about that, the growth of MLW since you showed up in October of last year.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a ton of growth. MLW is now available in, God, I honestly don't even know what the number is, but
right, yeah,
a ton of different markets. We're still cranking out content during the pandemic with MLW Anthology, when we chronicle some of the most influential performers in the history of MLW. MLW Underground is going to be making its return later this month. And even like side projects, like it was just announced that Mance Warner is going to have his own light beer coming out in 2021. And so I applaud MLW for using this time to not just create new content in the short term, keep, cranking out weekly content, but giving fans a taste of what's to come in the coming months and the coming year, and giving everybody something to look forward to. I think it's important that people have things to look forward to right now, so that we can foster all the hope we can get during these uncertain times. And MLW, as far as wrestling goes, I think has done a superb job of giving fans reasons to keep tuning in and to keep looking forward to what's down the pike.
The engagement is so strong, and it's so diverse too, in the way the product is delivered with the anthology. Then you have Pulp Fusion going on, all those different aspects, and plus the announcements and everything. It's been cool to cover and cool to write for the site in a lot of ways, just on WrestleZone and on MLW2.com.
And by the way, everything, all the content that MLW is putting out is free. Like it comes to MLW's YouTube channel. Subscribing is free. This is not like a paid thing, or you don't need to buy a subscription. So youtube.com/Major League Wrestling. And, there's new stuff coming out all the time. So subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when new content drops, and just keep enjoying MLW, because even though obviously we're taking a long break from live shows, MLW has some pretty amazing things coming.
Yeah, and go down that rabbit hole, because you can watch all of Fusions, and there's a lot of episodes you can get into. It's pretty neat to see all that. My editor, he would murder me to death if I did not ask you this. Okay. I think it's the past 5 interviews I've had. He's reminded me to do this every time, but I forgot. So this time I'm remembering. Okay. We've been doing this thing called the WrestleZone watch list. So during this time, while people are kind of staying inside and like doing what they need to do, hopefully to adhere to the rules of the pandemic and stuff, what matches, now it can be anything that you've been in or anything that's just been intriguing to you or inspirational to you. Give me a few matches that you've been tuning into during this time, or just ones that have really stuck out to you throughout, that you would recommend for fans to watch. It could be mainstream matches that everybody knows, or it can just be something that's like, hey, this is like a hidden gem that you got to check out.
Yeah. Well, apologies to your editor, but to be completely honest, I've kind of stayed away from wrestling during the pandemic.
Yeah? There's nothing wrong with that, though.
Right. Like one of the realizations that I've had since shelter in place is that I think taking a break from my normal routine and taking a break from wrestling is something that I really didn't know I needed until I'd gotten like several weeks, maybe even a month or two into it. Like at first, obviously I had huge plans with wrestling. MLW, again, amazing shows coming up. I was supposed to have the last in-ring match of my career at Hood Slam's 10th anniversary show in April. That obviously didn't happen. And so, I was just feeling like a lot of different ways about missing wrestling. But at the same time, like after, like I said, several weeks or 2 months, I was like, I don't have a huge desire to tune into wrestling right now. This is a time, obviously I'm looking forward to coming back as a performer, but I really feel like, as far as me personally, this is a time to really refocus and rest and think about other things I want to do outside of wrestling. Not even like career projects, because as a performer, as an actor, a lot of those are on hold too, but just like things that I want to do as a human being. Like, I've always wanted to learn to surf. I'm going to be making that happen. I've wanted to go on more road trips and like be out in nature more. I'm going to make that happen. And I've just been, since 2003, which is the first time I ever took a bump. My first day of training was in October 2003. I've been so hyper-focused on wrestling, and now that wrestling in the form that many of us know it in is taking a break, I'm using this opportunity to kind of take a break myself. Don't get me wrong. I still really look forward to doing voiceover work for MLW and, you know, Anthology and Underground and all the projects that are going on. I still love wrestling, but I also love that I miss wrestling.
Yes.
And you have to be away from something to really miss it. And so with each passing day that we don't have shows, I'm missing wrestling more and more, so that by the time MLW comes back, by the time Hood Slam comes back, I am just going to be so beyond description ready to launch into wrestling again that it's almost like I'm finding a way to savor the anticipation of being away from wrestling. And if I want to like hop on YouTube or something, then I'll get my fix when I need to. That hasn't happened yet. And I'm not in a rush to go out of my way to make that happen. I'm keeping up with what's going on in general, like on Twitter and on social media. So I'm aware of what's going on, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't enjoying my time away from wrestling. And I don't know if that's hard for some people to understand or not.
You know what? As somebody, I totally do get it, because in a lot of ways, getting away from something, not only is absence make the heart grow fonder, but in a lot of ways, I think that enhances your ability once you get back into it. You take all your outside perspectives that your time away from it and the different experiences, whether it's surfing or whether it's going hiking or traveling, doing road trips or anything like that. You take all that with you. And I think it adds and enhances and puts another spin on a lot of ways with
right. I'm looking forward to returning to wrestling as a more complete human being, and like using this time to focus on myself in a way that I would not have been able to do if wrestling was still a thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, is there anything else you want to plug? Obviously, Pro Wrestling Tees.
Bro Wrestling Tees. That's right.
Tees.
Code America at checkout for 20% off. That runs through, I want to say, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time on July 4th, which is this coming Saturday. So, you know, if you've been on the fence about picking one of these up before, now is the time to do it. There's this double-sided one. There's one with just the front, and then there's one with Black Lives Matter and BLM across the chest. Every design is available as a men's or women's t-shirt, tank top, or more, from extra small to 5XL. So a number of different styles to choose from. I've got a bunch of shirts on there as well for Broseph Joe Brody and also just for myself. But 100% of the proceeds from the Black Lives Matter shirts will go to the Black Lives Matter organization. Other than that, you know, I've been doing some at-home zero equipment bodyweight workouts on my Twitch channel. So that's twitch.tv/AJ Kirsch. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it's all at AJ Kirsch, which is AJKIRSCH. And throw a subscription to MLW on YouTube, youtube.com/Major League Wrestling. And I think wear your mask.
Yes.
Good freaking God. Wear your mask, people. The reason that wrestling is not a thing right now is because people are refusing to wear a mask. So if you're watching this, for the love of God, wear a mask. Just wear a mask.
In a sport that has masks, you gotta wear a mask.
Right. Like, we will all get wrestling back a lot sooner if you wear your mask. Thank you.
That's a good way to end it. Thanks, AJ.